Frustrating was it for you to be on Olympia stage and to be in a number two spot, twice and not win? How frustrating is it to be in that position?
Second place sucks because when it's all said and done, you have this dream of what could have been. It's only one person. It was only one night. It was only that one opportunity. And to be able to have that opportunity twice and not be able to seal the deal, you have to have a very strong understanding of why you weren't able to close. So it's not like boxing. I couldn't knock him out. It's either him or it's me. And I'm on Dorian and Ronnie were on this scale and I was on this scale. It comes down to personal preference. I got a very strong sense of self-awareness and who I am and what my position is in bodybuilding at a very early age. I won the Teenage California, the Teenage Los Angeles, the Teenage Nationals, and the Junior World Championships. I was a winner out of the box. So getting second place to me is losing. But when I came off that stage and when I came back home, it's almost like a hero's welcome. I had slayed all these other bodybuilders. I was number 2 in the world. It's not a bad place to be after the initial shock wears off. No, I didn't have this Sandow trophy. I got I got the medals. I got the Joe Weider handshake and all that adulation. But what it did do for me was it kept me coming back. I think if I had won the Mr. Olympia, I probably would have walked away because there's nowhere to go but down. Kept me coming back was the pursuit of number 1. It didn't have the physical reward of holding on to that Sandow and being of that elite group. And had I won it, I would have been amongst the first 10. Since I retired, there's only been 3 more. There's been Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, and Dexter Jackson. So I would have been amongst that elite 10. My dream was to be there. So that got me out of bed. Losing got me out of bed. But I never felt like a loser, not once. I felt I beat Dorian Yates. So I was able to swallow those losses. I never felt that I beat Lee Haney, except arguably in 1990 when they drug tested. I thought, well, he's a shadow of what he was. It's either me and Lee Labrada, but I can take getting 3rd place to Lee Haney, at that time, 7-time Mr. Olympia. 94 and 96 were bitter pills to swallow. I even thought 97 was a bitter pill. So 96, 94, 96, and 97, those were the years I could have won. And by the mere fact that I didn't, it didn't change my love and passion for the sport. My reflection of being a professional bodybuilder was one of joy, satisfaction, and self-accomplishment. The only time you heard me complaining was complaining for the betterment of the sport. Yeah, I wanted the judges changed, not so that I could win, but because they weren't changing the judges. Yeah, I wanted more prize money for everyone. Mind you, I was getting 2nd and 3rd in the Mr. Olympia. I was getting the top of the food chain. I was arguing for money for the guys that got nothing. When I said we need more money, I meant for the guys that were getting nothing, not for Shawn Ray. When I said I want to see the scores of the judges, I wanted transparency so everyone would get peace of mind. When I said Dorian Yates is bloated and he had a torn bicep, it's because it was true. You can't reward that. And in my retirement, I've had countless people say, you're right. You were absolutely, what you were saying then sounded selfish. But we wish they had to turn the corner and handle that stuff then so it wouldn't have been a problem now. Dorian wouldn't give back one of his Sandow trophies, I guarantee you. But he should have given back a couple. I think Kevin has a strong argument in 2000 with Ronnie Coleman. I'm sure Flex Wheeler had a strong argument in 99 with Ronnie Coleman. There's a few controversial calls, but I'm not bitter at all. Contrary to what a lot of people think. I mean, I made bitch, moan, and complain a lot when I was competing, but a lot of it was strategic. I wanted Dorian Yates to know I was there. I didn't accept him as the best built man in the world, and he was going to have to deal with me. And we didn't like each other. And we didn't like each other because we were apples and oranges. So that was nice to get the magazines talking. That was great publicity for me. It was good publicity for him. And then we had a fight on our hands. And I wasn't shy and I wasn't bashful, but it served me well. I got a lot of publicity, which I turned into dollars. And Dorian and I are in a very good place and have been for many, many years. Remember, Dorian retired before I did in 1997. The year I retired in 2001, I went over and I guest posed for him and I stayed at his house in England. The fans don't know a lot of that stuff. They only see what was in the magazines during that time. But I didn't leave bodybuilding bitter. I left bodybuilding better.
Did you ever get the urge to make a comeback?
I never have. I can tell you that when I walked away, and a lot of bodybuilders don't have that. I think Lee Haney had it. I think Lee Labrada had it, even though I think Labrada might have stayed one show too long. A lot of bodybuilders, for them, the end is sudden. It's an injury. It's an ailment. or it's a dismal decline in their physique. Nasser El-Sambadi, for example, just hung around. Here's a guy that was second in the Mr. Olympia, hung around until he couldn't make the top 10 of his pro show. It reminded me of Muhammad Ali trying to make that last fight, and he got beat up by his training partner, Larry Holmes. But for me, when I was walking away at 35, I was walking to something. Something that could fill that void of 2 hours in the gym in the morning, an hour in the gym at night. The gym didn't get me out of bed. And luckily, you know, I fell in love with the idea of love, and then I fell in love with the idea of family because I missed that. If you have something that you want and you desire, and you have to sit and watch other people enjoy for so many years, and it finally comes your way, you're either all in or you're not. And for me, I took to fatherhood the way I took to bodybuilding. At 50 years old, when I look back at the pictures I have on the wall, I have the validation that dreams do come true through hard work. And that hard work came from a work ethic of being a son of a janitor. You know, I cleaned toilets, I washed windows, I mopped floors, I shampooed carpets, because that's what my dad did for a living. And I grew up with that from 5 to 20 years old until I started making my own money. And when you have that base, that work ethic, to be able to do that, bodybuilding was easy. And then I just had to find a way to make it a business. And so now that it is a business, walking away from the stage, it didn't call me back because I didn't miss it. And I think for some people that get to the Olympia once, it's a thrill. You can spend it's like a football player. You get to the Super Bowl once, you got the taste of it. But there's some people that never make it to the Mr. Olympia. They spend their whole careers training to get a pro card that they can't even achieve. I got mine on my first try, 3 years out of high school. 4 years out of high school, I was standing on stage in the Mr. Olympia. And then I spent 12 years, over a decade, on the Olympia stage. I met the first Mr. Olympia and Larry Scott. I met the founding fathers of bodybuilding and Joe Weider and Ben Weider. I worked for him for 17 years. I worked with and for Arnold Schwarzenegger and won his competition. And so having that wealth of information in that database has been able to provide a nice living for me and my family and keep me close to the sport that I love, that I know, and that I eat, sleep, and breathe. What we're seeing now is a guy that decided he wanted to start his own federation, but on the way to doing that, try to burn down everything that made him who he is. And of course, we're talking about Lee Thompson now. He's trying to do his own thing. The problem with that is he's not looking at doing his own thing. He's looking at trying to tear down everything around him first, so there's no more competition.